were these people real? For many years people have been looking for Atlantis. They have explored many sunken cities hoping they would get a lead. They have explored all over South America, Africa, and other places. They feel very strongly that it's somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. So let's see what we can glean out of history and find out where Atlantis was. One of the first thing you have to realize about Atlantis is that it was called Atlantis and her colonies. So if we understand Atlantis was all over the earth, many Atlanteans played a part in establishing her colonies. According to one of my history books, 32 Atlanteans came to Earth in Earth's early history. They said they could see man walking on Earth, drinking from streams, and living in caves, so they came here to help man. Yes, they were the sons of the Elohim spoken of in Genesis 6th chapter, in the Torah. But writings found in ancient Iraq on mud tablets teach us early history. Notice please. This history was told to us by one of the Atlantean colonizers known as the God of Wisdom, Enki. Notice he says, "At my command, sheepfolds have been built, cow pens have been fenced off. When I approached heaven, a rain of abundance rained from heaven. When I approached earth, there was a high carp flood. When I approached the green meadows, at my word stockpiles and stacks are accumulated. I have built my house, a shrine, in a pure place, and named it with a good name. I have built my Abzu, a shrine, in, and decreed a good fate for it. The shade of my house extends over the pool. By my house the suhur carp dart among the honey plants, and the ekchub carp wave their tails among the small geyser reeds. The small birds chirp in their nests." He and his two sisters were part of the 32 group that came down from heaven. Here is part of their history. Enki, the king of the Abzu, rejoicing in great splendor, justly praises himself, "My father, the king of heaven and earth, made me famous in heaven and earth. My elder brother, the king of all the lands, gathered up all the divine powers and placed them in my hand. I brought the arts and crafts from the Ekur, the house of Enlil, to my Abzu in Aradug. I am the good seaman, begotten by a wild bull, I am the firstborn of Anu. I am a great storm rising over the great earth, I am the great lord of the land. I am the principal among all rulers, the father of all the foreign lands. I am the big brother of the gods, I bring prosperity to perfection. I am the seal keeper of heaven and earth. I am the wisdom and understanding of all the foreign lands. With Anu the king, on An's dais, I oversee justice. With Enlil, looking out over the lands, I decree good destinies. He has placed in my hands the decreeing of fates in the place where the sun rises. I am cherished by Nintur. The bright house of the gods was not yet built on the bright place, no reed grew and no tree was formed, no brick was laid nor any brick edifice reared, no house erected, no city built, no city reared, no conglomeration formed. Nippur was not reared, Ekur not erected. Erech was not reared, Eanna not erected, the deep not formed, Eridu not reared. The bright house, the house of the gods not yet constructed as a dwelling. The world was all a sea. The appearance of dry land is described somewhat vaguely as follows: there was a channel within the sea. At first the earth was covered with water, and that channel was carved by a planet called Nibiru, and it mounted earth and pushed up mountain ranges. They may have seen this take place because life started on their heavenly planet first. At that time Eridu was erected, E Sagila was built, E Sagila in the midst of the deep, where the God of the glorious abode dwells. Babylon was reared, E Sagila built. The Anunnaki he created together and bestowed glorious epithets upon the glorious city, the seat dear to their heart. Marduk constructed an enclosure around the waters, he made dust and heaped it up within the enclosure, that the gods might dwell in the place dear to their heart. Mankind he created. The goddess Arura created the seed of men together with him. The animals of the field, the living creatures of the field he created, the Tigris and Euphrates he formed in their places, gave them good names: soil, grass, the marsh, reed, and forest he created, the verdure of the field he produced, the lands, the marsh, and thicket, the wild cow with her young, the young wild ox, the ewe with her young, the sheep of the fold, parks, and forests, the goat and wild goat he brought forth. Houses he erected, cities he built, dwellings he prepared, Nippur he created. This is the history of the start of Atlantis. If you can figure where this history took place, you got Atlantis. Another colonist was Enki's brother Enlil. Notice what is said of him. Then Jupiter, when he had 5 times made a circuit of the earth, and bestowed governments upon all his friends and relatives, and left laws to men, provided them with a settled mode of life and grain, and given them many other benefits, and having been honored with immortal glory and remembrance, left lasting memorials to his friends, and when his age was almost spent, he changed his life in Crete, and departed to the gods. And the Curetes, his sons, took charge of him, and honored him, and his tomb is in Crete, in the town of Knossos, and Vesta is said to have founded the city, and on his tomb is an inscription in ancient Greek characters, Zanchronou, which is in Latin, Jupiter the son of Saturn. So we can see it was the Atlanteans that created the world by them colonizing our planet. Now get it right, we are their descendants because of what they did. Hermetic text tells us that our sun, with the power our Creator gives stars, created 7 races of man. But notice I said man, not humans, for humans were created by mixing the Atlanteans with Earth-man, like Genesis 6th chapter tells us. That same man the sun created is still with us today. And they are some beautiful people, and they are not plagued with the blood of the Atlanteans. The Babylonian god Marduk was one of the first to create a human because he was born on earth, and when he grew up there was none of his bloodline he could take as a wife. So, he took a earth woman, a native that lived in a cave, as his wife and goddess, and she was his wife until the day he was killed in his temple called the E Sagila in Babylon. The first child born was what you call a demigod whose name was Nabu in Babylon. In Egypt he was known as the Egyptian god of knowledge, Thoth. In Greece he was known as Hermes. I have to confess, Thoth is my teacher. It was the writings of Thoth that told me where Atlantis was. He well explains how Atlantis was wiped out by the Noah flood and how he came back to Egypt and built the Big Pyramid in Egypt. Now I could speak to you for hours about this history, but let's stop here and have a look at the Atlanteans that became rulers of the earth, and they were known as the Anunnaki. Notice, the Anunnaki are the only ones that have horns on their helmets to identify their position. Let's go to their carvings.